So I was super excited. When he said that, I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's either wrapping my stomach around my esophagus or my esophagus around my stomach. Fred, the recovery is a long, hard recovery. I have to be on a liquid diet for 2 weeks. Or a donut. What's up, people? It's Lisa and
Evan
from the Glen home.
It's been a little while since we've talked to you guys.
It's been a long while, let's be real. We do have some videos archived, though, that I keep telling him he needs to put out there. Even though it's been a little while, I think they deserve to be seen. Tyson's not with us today because we are in the car. And we are headed to Nashville for a doctor's appointment with a brand new doctor that I've never seen before. I was trying to get you in the frame, too.
I could be in it, but you were talking like this.
Everyone's a critic. Especially the husband who is driving.
I can drive and work a camera.
But you criticize their driving and they lose it. They be saying, who's the one driving? So who's the one working the camera?
I ain't got no hands on the driving steering wheel.
Yeah, I know. That's why you run off the road all the time. That and staring at things off the side of the road.
They nice looking vehicles.
It doesn't have to be vehicles. It can be literally a squirrel.
Where? Did you see a squirrel?
Mm-hmm. We are headed to Nashville to meet a brand new doctor. Most people who are around us a lot, friends and family and co-workers and people like that, they know that for the last 8 years or so, like, I've had really, really bad acid reflux and GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease. I've had heartburn and stuff like that off and on since I was a young adult, but it got really bad. Like, I was in the ER actually about 10 years ago, and they couldn't find anything other than a throat or chest infection. But since then, and I've had these symptoms, I really think that that's what it was. So I have been on 2 medicines. And these aren't really intended to be long-term medicines, but I've been taking 2 medicines to control this for about 8 years now. Probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I had an EGD, and they did a gallbladder ultrasound, and they stretched my throat, and that helped for a while. And so things were kind of just status quo, and it's really depending on, like, at one point, the medicines I was on to prevent my migraines, they were so hard on my stomach, I literally could not eat anything. Like, I got really, really skinny, which is nice, except for now I can look back and tell I was really too skinny. It wasn't in a healthy way because I could eat almost nothing. Once I got off those medicines and I started being able to eat again, which is good, but then just from being able to eat again and steroids and medicines and just combination of different factors, I gained too much weight. So that's something I feel like I'm constantly working on. But that's really neither. Well, I mean, it does contribute. Being overweight does make these things worse. But I really had just decided in the last 6 months to a year that I really needed to go. Well, let me go back. So the doctor who performed the EGD before, that was my doctor. He
4 years ago.
Oh, I don't know. It may have been longer than that. I don't know. It's been quite a while. He was in a plane crash and had a lot of injuries, and so he didn't practice for a while. And so my primary care physician had just been refilling my medicine and doing a great job of that and keeping me in with those medicines and what I needed. But I started hearing about one being recalled, and I just thought, I've been on these medicines for so long, and I started having some indigestion type pains and some pains in my back and things like that. So I knew I needed to tweak my diet and go back to a healthier eating more often, but I just wanted to check and make sure that everything was okay. Back right before Christmas, I had found a doctor in my network that was a gastroenterologist, and so I saw him right before Christmas. And the very first thing when I walked into the office before I saw the doctor was a pamphlet on a procedure that can be done. I immediately felt great joy. However, Evan did not necessarily feel the same way. When the doctor came in and we kind of went through my history and what I was doing, and so he kind of jumped to, well, you've been doing this for 8 years and this is where you're at. There's this procedure that could get you off of your medicine and you could eat foods you want. And so I was really excited, but Evan kind of had a different feeling in the beginning.
But we hadn't been in the office very long, and first thing out of the gate was, let's do surgery. I'm not a person that just jumps right into surgery. So that was my hesitation.
But I was super excited because I have coffee about once or twice a year. I love coffee. Coffee makes me happy. I can drink coffee any time of the day. But
you like a little coffee with your milk and sugar, though.
Right. But I mean, even when I drink it now, I've really come off of that a lot, just because of the GERD. But I mean, it's just, it's just not even worth it, really. And so, there are things like that I absolutely cannot have. Like anything with the tomato-based is kind of a treat because I know that that's going to make it bad. Vinegar. So anyway, I could go through a whole list of foods because I've learned that it's not just spicy foods. It's sweet foods and greasy foods and more than just what a lot of people probably think of as triggers. I was super excited. When he said that, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
But what was the procedure that he wanted to do?
So that is called...
There were two things that he talked about.
Yep. So the TIF procedure is the procedure that I saw the pamphlet about as far as fixing the acid reflux problem. But first, before we could do that, I had to undergo an EGD and do something called a Bravo test. I'd had the EGD before, so I really wasn't overly concerned about it. They just kind of lightly sedate you, kind of like a Twilight type thing. It takes like 15 minutes. They run the scope down, they look at everything, and that's it. But I had not had the Bravo test before, and I wasn't entirely prepared for it, even though, being the Google nerd that I am, I had researched it quite extensively. So the Bravo test, they inserted a capsule into my esophagus, and for some reason I didn't think I was going to feel it, and I didn't think it was going to hurt. I'm not sure what dreamland I was living in, but I didn't think about it hurting. When I woke up from that 15 minutes, I could feel like I just hurt from my throat down to my stomach, and I didn't have that the first time. So I don't know, it could have been more aggravated now, I don't know. But so that capsule, I could feel it just sitting there every time I tried to eat and swallow, and the capsule stays in place for 5 to 7 days. So I had to wear this box. It was something that looks like a camera strap, and it was a little rectangular box that just kind of hung around my throat. I had to keep it within 3 feet of myself at all times, or it would start beeping at me.
It beeped a lot.
Yeah, so, because when I was just sitting on the couch, I would take it off and put it on the arm of the couch. But then I'd get up to go to the bathroom or get a drink or something. So during this process, they don't want you to sip on drinks a lot, which I have such a dry throat, I almost always have a drink. And they want you to eat normally, except for my throat and my chest were so sore that anything normal sized hurt going down. So I wanted things like potatoes and soups and ice creams and things like that. Yeah, he does too. I'm really trying to think what I compared this box to. Oh, I know. Okay, so, what's that guy's name?
Flavor Flav.
So, when I came out, I was like, oh, so I'm like Flavor Flav, like, you know, like, or Flavor Flav?
Flavor Flav.
Like, and if you are younger than 35, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But for those of us who are older, there was a guy, Flavor Flav, and he wore this big, huge clock around him. And I was like, oh, so that's who I feel like. So anyway, I had to do that for 4 days. I couldn't take my acid reflux medicines for like a week. And I had to record every time I had a symptom. There were 3 symptoms. And then the day that I got to take it off, the following day, Evan took it back to the doctor in Nashville. By the end of the week, they gave me a call. The doctor himself called me, and I don't remember which were which, but the symptoms were chest pain, heartburn, and regurgitation. And of the 3, 2 of them were 100%, one was 93%. In case you don't know this, I am a teacher. So basically, I made an A on all 3 of those tests. Same. Unfortunately...
A in your acid reflux test.
Yeah, right. So unfortunately, this isn't really a test that you want to pass and do well on. So that's why they wanted to do this, was to see how strong the acid was, how bad the acid was, to determine if the need was there to have this surgery. When they did the EGD, they had done a biopsy also. So during this time, I knew they had taken a biopsy. So, I mean, like, I felt like everything was fine, but every now and then, you know, a little tiny doubt would creep in, like, oh, well, so he took a biopsy. You know, is that normal? Should I be concerned? And so it really wasn't. It wasn't because he was concerned about anything cancerous. It was just checking to make sure that there were no infections in the esophagus there where he took that. I don't really know what all the stuff means, but I have a 2-centimeter hiatal hernia. And it's also a grade 4, which I believe the doctor explained, just was talking about how wide it is. And he had told me when I came out that I had a fairly good size hernia. So that is what we're doing today. Today we're going to see the general surgeon who would fix the hernia. They would put me to sleep and do 2 surgeries at one time. 2. I call it a 2-for-1 special. I'm not really sure that, you know, most people refer to it that way.
You're way more excited about it than I am.
Yeah. So they'll put me to sleep. The general surgeon I'm going to see today would go in and fix the hernia, and then my gastroenterologist would come in and do the TIF procedure, which is basically, as I understand it, it's either wrapping my stomach around my esophagus or my esophagus around my stomach. And what that does is that keeps the sphincter valve from popping open and letting that acid back up in my throat. So hopefully, I mean, these are all good things in the long run. From what I have read, the recovery is a long, hard recovery as far as eating and things like that you can do. I don't think I'm not going to be out of school like as long as I was with my foot surgery, because it took me all summer and a full year recovery. So, and I honestly, it was so hard to go back to work when school started. I could not see doing that in the middle of the school year and going back to work. But anyway, I digress. It's like Sophia. But as far as going back to work, I think it's a short recovery period. But the foods and the diet and things you can have and things you can't have and things you can do and things you can't do. So I kind of feel like we've been in limbo for the last 4 to 6 weeks, because we've known this was coming, but we haven't known what to expect, what to prepare for. And so that'll be helpful today, as I feel like we'll get some more information. Today is basically just a consult. We meet her. She tells us what she's going to do. and we have a chance to ask her questions. So,
And when it's going to happen.
And when it's going to happen and things like that. So we'll have a little more information, hopefully after today's visit. 14 and a half hours since I was last home. I really wanted to talk a little bit about the doctor's visit when we left, but we went to meet family at the Cheesecake Factory and visit with them for a couple of hours, which was fantastic.
Yes.
And we have cheesecake in the fridge to enjoy tomorrow.
All right.
So, what's your favorite cheesecake? Comment below. I don't really like cheesecake other than Cheesecake Factory cheesecake. So, I'm not a huge fan.
You don't even like the cheesecake that I make?
You've never made cheesecake.
I know, because you say you don't like it.
But, while we were there, I developed a migraine, which is a whole other video entirely. But anyway, I didn't really feel like talking on the camera, and I'm really tired. So I will come back and talk about the doctor's visit and more of the symptoms and issues with the GERD. We accomplished today. Our goal was to meet the general surgeon that will repair my hernia and schedule a surgery date, and we did those things. And so we have about 4 weeks until that happens, and so we have some time to do a couple more videos or film some more footage for a video or whatever. So, and then we'll do some stuff with the recovery too. So, good night.
We've got some fun things coming up.
We do. We have some fun things in between now and surgery.
And some other things that we want to do with you guys. Maybe some meal planning that we do. Of course, with you having your surgery, there's not going to be a whole lot of...
I have to be on a liquid diet for 2 weeks after my surgery. And then if I tolerate that well, it's like a soft diet for another 2 weeks or however long it takes to tolerate that and slowly build up to being able to eat real food again. So I think that's about 6 to 8 weeks or more before I'll be back to that. So, but I meal prepped last weekend. We just didn't record it, but
we like to meal prep.
Yeah, it makes life so much easier, and we eat less fast food, and we snack better and make better healthy choices all the time. And we'll talk about that a little more, but really, before we sign off, I will say this week was a perfect example of how addictive sugar is, because I had been doing really well not eating any sugar. And then one of I think it was the 8th graders for their prom, anyway, somebody was selling Krispy Kreme donuts, and somebody left one on my table, and so I ate one of those. And then they were on the table at lunch, so I ate one of those. And then we had a baby shower for our music teacher at work. And then I ate a cupcake. And then like that night, I felt like I had to have a candy bar just because I got used to eating that sugar again. So.
Candy bar.
I gave you a candy bar too. It was a Snickers, remember?
Maybe.
Okay. So. But anyway, that was really, because since then I felt like I've had to have something sweet every day, and so it really is a habit. When I really just completely got off sugar years ago for my acid reflux, I felt better, and I didn't really miss it because I didn't have it. But then once I could start eating it, I ate it, and then I kept wanting it. So it is one of those things that's really addictive. By the way, speaking of donuts, there is as much sugar in a teaspoon or a tablespoon of ketchup as a Krispy Kreme donut. So think about that. Would you rather have ketchup or a donut? Good night. I'm really tired.
Let's call it a night.
Before I jump topics again.
Yeah, that's okay. We do have, but we are tired. We do have a lot of cool videos, I hope, for you guys coming up to share.
That Evan needs to edit.
Well, that too. But I'm talking about look forward to some fun things that we're going to be doing as the next few videos go out. Look for more frequent videos as the next few weeks roll out.
Yeah, you guys can watch me watch TV while I sit on the couch as I recover from surgery. Ah!
Well, we may not be doing. We may do a little bit more than that. All right, guys. Good night.
So.
We hope everyone has a great night. We'll see you on the next video.